So my name is Laura Hernandez. I'm a volunteer with the City of Port Hueneme. I am formerly with the County Office of Emergency Services. I retired about 4 years ago from the Sheriff's Department, Sheriff's Office of Emergency Services. I was there 17 years as their Assistant Director for the Office of Emergency Services, in charge of preparing the county for major disasters. And I've got 30 years of experience in disaster preparedness, and now that I'm retired, I figured I'd give back to the community, the city I live in, and help the city get organized and prepare for emergencies. So I'm going to be your moderator today, and I'm going to talk a little bit later about the Citizen Corps Council, which is one of the reasons we're here. So to kick us off, I'd like to invite the Honorable Mayor Tom Bigg up to give us a welcoming, a roaring welcoming.
Well, I don't know about the honorable part, but I'll come up. So anyway, I'm like you. I'm here to listen and learn. We're going to hear from the supposed experts. I'm no different than you. My son has been harassing me of late to get my list together for emergency preparedness. We have the good fortune of having a little basement in our house, and so he's got all grand plans to fully equip it and make certain that we're able to survive over a limited period of time. Recently, I was in Sacramento and attended a crisis management program, and it introduced me to some issues that hopefully we'll get into, if not tonight, later. Things that we've been watching around the globe here with hurricanes and the like tend to give you a little bit of forewarning, but there are a lot of natural and man-made disasters that can happen like that, and you would not have the preparation for it. So it's so critical that we prepare ourselves for those unknowns. One of the examples given was a pipeline incident that occurred in San Bruno several years ago, up in South San Francisco area. The city was totally unprepared, and it taught them some very valuable lessons. And so I gleaned some of that information, and I intended to pass it on to our officials. But what I learned from that is that we have to be self-reliant. We have to create a safety net that comes from you first. We need to protect our families and those, our loved ones, and we can't just be complacent and think that others are going to come to our aid immediately. That in cases of catastrophic circumstances, there simply is not going to be enough resources. We need to be self-reliant. We need to equip ourselves with the tools, the know-how to assist not only yourselves, but your neighbors. Because as I learned in the San Bruno example, is that there simply weren't enough first responders to go around. And yet there were a lot of injured. And people need to step up and assist those in need, and cannot rely upon resources that are simply not available. So that was an important lesson to me. We're all in it together as a community. We need to be community-minded, yes. Always think of your families first, but you also have to be prepared to step up and help your neighbors. So thank you so much for coming out. Like you, I'm here to learn, and I'm very much looking forward to your program. And I know this is kind of your beginning point of setting up a core committee. And if there's anything that I can do or the city council can do, please let us know. We certainly support this effort. So thank you for coming out.
So that was a good segue into our next presentation. I'd like to introduce Commander Robert Albertson and Sergeant Eric Starna. And they're going to talk about what the city has done so far in emergency preparedness and what we hope to do. So please welcome them.
Okay, so my name is Robert Albertson. I'm the commander for the Port Wayne Police Department, and I'm obviously not an expert in emergency preparedness or disaster preparedness, and so I did bring our in-house subject matter expert, Sergeant Eric Starna, as a collateral assignment. He is assigned as our department's emergency manager. Our city manager is actually the emergency manager for the city officially, but Sergeant Starna is our internal emergency manager. And so our presentation is going to consist of, I'm going to give, I don't know if everybody here lives in Port Hueneme or not, so I'm just going to give a real quick overview of our demographics, and then I'm going to give you some information about our police department, and then Sergeant Starna is going to give you some information about our specific operations. There's going to be a lot of information tonight, and some of the other presenters are going to go into some more detail about how to prepare for an emergency or a disaster and things like that. And so we will keep our presentation relatively short so that at the end of the evening we will have a chance for some question and answers, because I found that a lot of times your questions are what is going to then allow us to give you the information that you really need, as opposed to us maybe just sitting up here and explaining everything to you. So our police department has 22 sworn police officers. That includes myself and the police chief. So that leaves 20 for patrol and investigations. We have 16 assigned to patrol and 4 assigned to investigations. We have 8 non-sworn full-time support services staff. That includes 5 dispatchers who work by themselves. So they work a shift alone most of the time. So when we have a homicide, or we have some other incident going, they're in there by themselves fielding all those calls. And so the same thing is going to happen if we have a major disaster or some other type of incident that's large. And their potential of getting overwhelmed quickly is going to be there. We currently have 2 reserve police officers, because all of our reserves have gone on to other agencies to get jobs. We have 4 citizen volunteers, 14 explorers, and 1 police service dog that's a canine. Our shifts are structured to where we have 4 patrol teams. They work 12-hour shifts. Each team has 4 officers, a sergeant, a senior officer, and 2 patrol officers. That's if nobody calls in sick, if nobody's away at training. We do backfill some shifts, but some shifts don't get backfilled. So potentially there could be 3 people on at any given time. So in an incident, we're going to have to then get people here first. And so what's going to be available are those 3 or 4 people that are out on the streets. If it's during the daytime, the detectives will be here. So there's not a lot of resources that is going to be available immediately. Obviously, we would draw on some county-wide resources, maybe statewide resources, and Sergeant Starna will probably get into some of that. And so I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant Starna, and he's going to go into some details about our specific operations.
Commander Robertson said, today we have 3 on. We had 3 on during the day, myself and 2 officers. So we're going call to call, code 3, whatever the case may be. We may have that when a major incident takes place. My job as emergency manager is to make sure that we're trained, ready to go, to utilize all of our resources for whatever happens in the field first. We are going to be responding. We respond with fire to incidents, and then we will call from there. We'll make other calls to other officers and civilians within our agency to come assist us with the event. And then from there we build up to, do we need to call the Sheriff's Department for more resources? And then we roll into what's called the Standard Emergency Management System, which is how we are going to respond per the government code to major catastrophic events. But one of the things that the commander touched on is that we have 1 dispatcher handling your phone calls, the 911 calls, the non-emergency calls. You come into our station, you may be asked to hang on a second at the window, because they're handling the calls in the window. Plus, if we need resources from our we're calling on our radios to request resources, that's that 1 dispatcher doing all the work. So as we go through this, it's a good thing. It's a good time to do that, to go back and re-prepare. There's new council members, there's new officers coming in, there's new civilians coming in to retrain and get us trained up. FEMA has a good website with all the ICS, Incident Command System classes that you can go to on how to respond to major events. So that's going to be my job, is to make sure we're up to speed on that. But I just want to give you a brief overview of what our department is, what we have, and I know at times it seems like there's a lot going on, and we do that with 3 to 4 on until we can get more resources. But there's mutual aid plans in place, and we will call out for for mutual aid from other agencies, given that they can spare the officers at the time. But that's how we do things, and I think we do it very well. I'm very proud of our department with what we have. So thank you for your time.
Trying to establish here in Port Hueneme is to use the Citizen Corps as a basis for sharing information. So we all prepare, and I think you guys get it because you're here. We prepare so we lessen the impact of disasters. We know we can't prevent them. As the mayor mentioned, some are no notice, some we get a forewarning like storms. We know when the storms are coming, and we prepare for those, but we don't know when the big one is going to hit. We don't know when the earthquake is going to hit. We know we're due, right? We know we're way overdue for a major. So it's critical that all of you do your part, not only to prepare yourselves at home, make sure that your kids' schools are prepared, make sure your employers are prepared, make sure you have kids at home and in your car and where you work. Be ready. And what we want to do also through the Citizen Corps is address the unique attributes of our community and engage everybody in our community. So of course government has responsibility. You heard Commander Albertson talk about police responsibility. You'll hear about fire's responsibility, the city's responsibility. Sergeant Starda talked about the emergency plans. The city and government are doing their part, but they can't do it alone. And as community leaders, we have a responsibility to participate in community preparedness. So that's why we have the school district here. That's why we have a representative from the Chamber of Commerce. That's why we have Red Cross here and other members of the community here, because we need all of you as leaders of this community to help ensure that we are planning together and organizing together. So the emergency operations plan is the city's plan on how they're going to respond to the needs of the community. But what's your plan? What's your personal family plan? Do you have one? As Commander Albertson said, there's not enough of us to go around, enough of them to go around. So it's important for you as members of this community to learn about alerts and warnings. Take training. We're going to talk about training tonight. Practice skills and personal plans. Network, help others. Give feedback to community. Report suspicious activity. And volunteer. We want you to volunteer. Now the Citizen Corps Council is a way for you to get involved. We're going to hopefully have no more than one meeting every quarter of the year. So every 3 or 4 months we'll have a meeting, and we'll have perhaps a guest speaker. We'll talk about what the latest and greatest information is in emergency preparedness, and then we want you to take that back to your community, to your neighborhood. Okay? So you can take, I'm glad you're here tonight. I'm glad you're taking the time out of your schedule to be here tonight. I mean, that's a great first step. I mean, that says a lot about you, caring about not only your own family, and but your community. So we'll probably have a meeting like this again, in another few months. We'll share more information with you, and we'll get more organized as we go along. So the goal of Citizen Corps is to make communities safer, more prepared, more resilient. We want to bring all of you together with our community leaders, our city leaders, and make sure our plans effectively reflect the community. So this is just a quick list of who are members of the Citizen Corps Council. Of course, your first responders, we've got volunteers, elected officials, business leaders, school system representatives, transportation, the buses, other transportation organizations, media executives, faith-based groups, want churches involved, minority special need representation, and leadership from community substructure, all nonprofits, all organizations, service groups, Rotary clubs. We want to involve everybody. Right now I'm serving as the chair of the Citizen Corps Council. Chief Salinas appointed me as the chair. I am interested in helping it get stood up, but I know there's leaders out there who could probably do a better job than I. So that's what we want to find. We want to get you involved.
Hi, my name is Gracie Huerta. I have a question. How many people here have taken the CERT program?
That's great.
How many folks here don't know what the CERT program is? Great. So CERT is an acronym. It stands for Community Emergency Response Team Training. And it's a program that the federal government encourages police and fire departments to teach to the community. And a lot of people have done that. It's a 24-hour course, and it sort of goes through what can you do to prepare yourself, how to use a fire extinguisher, how to shut off a gas meter, how to create a kit. And lots of fire departments do this.
And our fire department's going to talk about it.
We're going to teach about it, sir. I worked for the Santa Barbara City Fire Department for 10 years, and I taught CERT in both English and Spanish. Santa Barbara is a community of about 450,000 in 8 cities. Only one city had a Spanish-speaking emergency disaster preparedness coordinator. That was me. So the other 7 cities were looking for help teaching their CERT programs in Spanish. And there just aren't enough days in the week to volunteer at 7 different cities. So we created a program called Listos. And Listos is a word in Spanish that means ready, smart, and prepared. And it's a version of disaster preparedness that targets the Spanish-speaking community. And so it's different than CERT in that it's a little bit shorter, a little bit more concise, and the idea is that you bring people in and you give them a taste, and then you send them out and ask them to find additional training, right? Because we all want everybody to have the CERT program, but you have to start kind of on a lower basis. We taught the Listos program in a way that then it would be taught peer-to-peer, so that the folks who came to take the Listos program can then go back and teach their friends and neighbors and relatives. And since it's been translated into English, and it's used in some communities in English, and then the folks who take the Listos program can go back and teach Listos to their friends and neighbors. Always with the idea that they use it as a stepping stone into CERT, right? So for those of you who've taken CERT with Listos, we don't do search and rescue, right? We do all the things that that you can teach peer-to-peer. So we take out search and rescue, for example, because we don't want you teaching that part peer-to-peer. So yo soy Gracie Huerta y yo vengo a hablar con ustedes de un programa que se llama Listos. Listos es un programa de preparación para desastres. Nos reunimos 4 semanas y hablamos temas. Cada semana es un tema de qué puede hacer uno para prepararse en caso de un desastre. Una semana hablamos de cómo se usa un extinguidor de fuego, cómo se atienden los heridos, cómo se apagan la luz, el gas y por qué y cuándo se apagan eso. Empezamos este programa porque yo trabajaba con bomberos en Santa Bárbara y no había bastante bomberos para dar la educación en español. So tuvimos que hacer un programa para enseñarle a la comunidad latina cómo prepararse. So es un programa que existe ahorita y lo inventamos en Santa Bárbara y se está usando a un nivel federal ahora. I forgot to say, this is really important, that we started this program in Santa Barbara, and now it's being vetted, has been vetted by the state of California, and is currently being vetted by FEMA, and it's becoming a national program. So one of the things that we do are fire extinguisher trainings. We talk about how to create a kit. Los temas serían cómo usar un extinguidor de fuego, cómo hacer un kit de preparación para la familia, cómo cerrar las utilidades y cuándo cerrar las utilidades. Porque no queremos que las cierren nomás por cerrarlos, ¿verdad? Queremos que las cierren en el momento correcto. What we wanted and what we've been able to do with Listos is first we teach the course. It's a 12-hour course. We usually meet a couple of nights a week for about 4 weeks, a couple of hours a night for 4 weeks. And then after we're done with the course, then we teach a Listos Train the Trainer course. And then we encourage those instructors to go out and help us spread the word and get the message across about getting everyone prepared. And so what we're going to do starting next week, a week from tonight, is start a Listos course, a Listos Train the Trainer course. So I'm here to ask for your help. If you are interested in becoming an ESOS instructor, if you speak Spanish and are interested in becoming an ESOS instructor, and then would be willing to help us go out and train the community, we invite you to come back next Wednesday at 6 o'clock in this same room, and we'll start that process. We'll show you what that training would look like.